Thank you for joining us for the dealer webinar today. I am Amy Cameron, Assistant Director for the Division of Recycling. With me today is Jennifer Akins, Branch Chief for Certification and Registration. And also joining us to help answer questions is Lisa Fernandez, Manager of the Convenience Zone Unit, and Cameron Swinko, Manager of the Dealer Management Unit. During this webinar, which we expect to last for an hour, we would like to inform you of recent legislative changes that impact dealers, as well as provide you with information on convenience zone expansions. As I mentioned before, today's webinar is being recorded. Our format today starts with Jennifer and I reviewing the information on the following slides with you, and then we will open it up to the audience for questions at the end. Today, we will briefly review recent legislation that impacts the beverage container recycling program. We will then give you a brief overview of the recycling program and explain how dealers fit in. From there, we'll discuss convenience zones, expansion from 1/2 mile to 1 mile, and the impact. Jennifer will also briefly touch on a special note for small dealers that became unserved over the last 1.5 years. California's legislature has worked hard to continue to improve the beverage container recycling program, which was established in 1986. Over the last year, California passed 6 significant pieces of legislation. This joins 3 other legislative bills from earlier sessions that CalRecycle is actively working on implementing. AB 179 provides funding for a variety of grant and loan programs to improve California's beverage container recycling infrastructure to increase consumer access and provide cleaner material stream. AB 179 has the following funding components in it: $73 million of funding for recycling centers to invest in RVMs, mobiles, and bag drop recycling. $50 million for quality incentive payment programs. $40 million for quality incentive payments, including thermoform materials. $30 million for startup loans for processors and recyclers. $5 million for workforce development. $10 million for plastic market development payments, and $25 million to invest in reusable containers. AB 793's groundbreaking language created a minimum content standard for post-consumer content for plastic beverage containers, as well as establishing reporting and exemption clarification. Regulation language has been submitted to the Office of Administrative Law and is currently available for public comment until March 21st. There will be a public hearing on March 21st regarding the rulemaking. For more information on the rulemaking or to learn how to participate in the public hearing, please visit our website. AB 203 established a threshold for beverage manufacturers that sell or transfer 16 million or fewer plastic containers from having to meet post-consumer minimum content requirements and set the handling fee rate based on rates that were effective July 1st, 2021. AB 1311 added bag drop language to the act, and AB 211 added mechanism to the bag drop definition. SB 38 requires CalRecycle to conduct a study on glass containers and also specifies how certified processors must pay certified recycling centers. SB 895 amends the definition of nonprofit convenience zone recycler to remove the requirement that they be operational for 5 years and extends the location allowance to within 2 miles of a convenience zone instead of 1 mile. And AB 962 allows reusable glass bottle washers to participate in the beverage container recycling program as certified processors. SB 1013 makes significant changes to the beverage container recycling program. Wine and distilled spirits will become CRV beverages on January 1st, 2024. And these products will need to be labeled by July 1st, 2025. This legislation also expands convenience zones from 1/2 mile to 1 mile. Small dealers or those who are under 5,000 square feet or do less than $1.5 million in annual sales, excluding fuel, will no longer be required to redeem and store beginning January 1st, 2025. Additionally, the bill removes the option to pay CalRecycle $100 per day and allows dealers to join a cooperative to provide service to unserved convenience zones in lieu of having to redeem. This starts January 1st, 2025. Dealer cooperatives. SB 1013 defines dealer cooperatives as a 501c3 stewardship organization that dealers may join in lieu of redeeming in store. Dealer cooperatives will submit a redemption plan to CalRecycle to explain how they will provide redemption for CRV containers. We are expecting to draft regulations to implement this portion of the legislation and will hold workshops to discuss the concept soon. The specific dates will be shared via our listserv, but the timeline overview is on this slide. To stay up to date on the progress of dealer cooperatives, as well as the other legislation we are implementing, please visit our website to join the Beverage Container Recycling Program, General Information Listserv, as well as any other department listservs for topics you may be interested in. Next, we will discuss convenience zone expansions. The Beverage Container Recycling Program was created in 1986 with an 80% recycling target. The CRV is charged for aluminum, glass, plastic, and bimetal beverage containers that contain beverages specified in the Beverage Container Recycling and Litter Reduction Act. Examples of included beverages are water, soda, beer, etc. I will now turn it over to Jennifer to talk more about 1013 and the impacts on dealers.
Thanks so much, Amy. The Beverage Container Recycling and Litter Reduction Act, Section 14510, defines dealers as a retail establishment which offers the sale of beverages in beverage containers to consumers. All California dealers have certain responsibilities under the Act. I have to forward my own slide, sorry about that. These responsibilities for dealers include ensuring that California redemption value beverages are labeled with the CRV message prior to sale, charging sales tax on the appropriate portion of the sale. Larger dealers must also excuse me, just have their shelf display and advertising show consumers the CRV message separately from the sales price. Dealers are also required to post signage alerting customers to the nearest redemption opportunity. Finally, for dealers in unserved convenience zones, those dealers must choose to either redeem CRV containers in store or pay CalRecycle $100 per day. For dealers that redeem in store, redeemed beverage containers must be delivered to a recycling center or processing facility. Additionally, dealers must redeem in at least one location during all open store hours. As a reminder, SB 1013 will require dealers to register with CalRecycle once regulations have been adopted. And starting January 1st, 2025, As Amy had mentioned, option B will be off of the table, but dealers will then have the opportunity to provide redemption services in unserved zones as a dealer cooperative. Additionally, small dealers will be exempt from those requirements of either joining the dealer cooperative or providing redemption services to consumers. What is a convenience zone? A convenience zone is the 1 mile radius around a supermarket. A supermarket is a full line grocery store that does $2 million or more in annual sales. SB 1013 expanded the zone size from the former half a mile to now today's 1 mile. All zones are required to have a state certified recycling center in order to be considered served. Zones that do not have a recycling center within the border are considered unserved, or for some zones that meet specific requirements, they may be exempted. The convenience zone status impacts all dealers within the zone, and it is vitally important for dealers to read any mail sent from us to you. Dealers that are in exempt or served zones will be notified when the zone status changes. A zone may go from unserved to served if a recycling center opens in the zone. Or a zone may change from exempt to unserved if the circumstances that allowed the exemption no longer exist. For example, a nearby recycling center closes. As a result of the convenience zone expansion under SB 1013, there are an additional 661 zones that are now considered served. Dealers in these newly served zones were notified of this new status, and the letters were sent last week. Additionally, dealers will also be notified if they are newly determined to be unserved. Only dealers in unserved convenience zones are required to either choose to redeem in store or pay $100 per day. First, again, let me reiterate, please make sure that when you receive a notice from CalRecycle, you read the notice and you verify that any information is correct, store name, mailing address, etc. If you notice a discrepancy, please email us at dealerservices@calrecycle.ca.gov. This slide that is posted on your screen now is an illustration of the notifications newly unserved dealers will receive from CalRecycle. For dealers in the expanded portion of the convenience zones, or those dealers located between the half mile and the 1 mile from the supermarket, the first notice in the series went out last week. After the first notice, we will send a second notice approximately 30 days later, and the third notice 30 days after that. With the third notice, an affidavit and deadline will be provided for dealers to make their choice to either redeem CRV containers in store, or what we refer to as option A, or pay CalRecycle $100 per day, or what is referred to as option B. Amy, I believe this is you, but I can certainly take this. All right. The SB 1013 changed the landscape. We went from a 30% served rate to having over 47% of the zone served, because there is a recycling center now within 1 mile of the convenience zone or the supermarket. Additionally, the numbers of exempt zones dropped from almost 30% to less than 15% after expansion. The number of unserved zones decreased marginally from about 40% to 38%. Hold zones are those zones we're still evaluating to determine the status. Finally, we added a few zones in California as a result of the opening of new supermarkets. This increase in zones is not directly related to SB 1013.
Thank you, Jennifer. I would like to let you know that a convenience zone status report is available on our website. This list with the expanded zones went live early Monday morning. This is a list of zones which can be sorted by city, county, or zone status type. For example, you may choose to search for all unserved zones in Sacramento County, or just those in Rancho Cordova. If you are a dealer but not a supermarket, you will need to know the nearest supermarket to you or your zone number. Note that the letters that went out last week included your zone number. SB 1013 limits the number of zone exemptions to a maximum of 15% of total zones, down from 35%. To apply for a zone exemption, one must submit an application available on our website at calrecycle.ca.gov. We will then review the application and submit for public comment. CalRecycle will then make a determination based on the statutory requirements. One, the exemption will not significantly decrease the consumer's ability to redeem. Two, a certified recycling center is within a reasonable distance. Three, there is an operational curbside program. Four, local zoning or lease prohibits recycling centers that were in effect prior to January 1st, 1987. And five, not enough businesses to sustain a recycling center, and a recycling center is within a mile of the convenience zone, not of the supermarket, so it can be outside of the zone. CalRecycle will notify affected parties. For example, the applicant, dealers in the zone, etc. This process may take up to 6 months. Back to you.
Oh, thanks, Amy. I'd also like to mention to our SB 155 dealers, these are the small dealer exemptions that were authorized in that legislation. Those exemptions expired at the end of December. This bill, SB 155, paused the requirements for small dealers to have to either redeem in store or pay $100 per day. Those dealers were expected to resume either option A activities, redeeming in store, or paying CalRecycle the $100 per day as of January 1st. I just wanted to take a moment to mention to any of these newly served small dealers that were notified that you were in an unserved zone, but were also exempted under SB 155, if your affidavit was due at the end of 2021 or at any time during 2022, if you have not already done so, you must submit your affidavit by next Wednesday, February 15th, or you will be defaulted into paying $100 per day to CalRecycle as an option B dealer. Please submit your affidavit to dealersigns@calrecycle.ca.gov or mail it to the address on the affidavit, again, no later than February 15th. If you have misplaced your affidavit, please visit our website to obtain a new one.
Thank you. That concludes the information we wanted to share with you, and we will now open it up to questions. You may choose to type your question into the chat box, or you may raise your hand and we will unmute your microphone. Please limit your questions to convenience zones and dealer responsibilities. We may not be able to answer questions about other areas today. As a note, we also cannot address your specific store location during our Q&A. If you have questions about whether you are in a served or unserved zone, please email our dealer services unit. The contact information is on the next slide. Okay, I'm going to open the chat and see if we have any written questions. It does not appear at this time that we do. So it looks like we do have a hand raised. And so if we could work on I believe. Hi, Marcel. How can we help? I can't hear you.
Sorry, let me go in and unmute. I had a little bit of a technical difficulty. I couldn't get to the right screen. So I noticed a couple of questions in the chat box, so I will read those, but let's go ahead. I'm going to ask Marcel to unmute. Marcel, you should be able to go ahead and click unmute and ask your question.